welcome everyone to our Masterclass in Mentoring Success. My name is Susanne Trotta with Imperial Dade, and I'm your moderator for today. And I'm thrilled to have you join us during Mentoring Month for this important conversation about the transformative power of mentoring and advancing women at every stage in their careers. I want to start off by introducing you to our panelists. We have Carol Pfeiffer, who's an executive coach from the Expansive Leadership Coaching, Molly Watley, DEI Communications and Office Experience Manager from Ascendant, and Michael Staver, Chief Operating Office and Integrator from CleanMark. Mentoring is not only a tool for professional growth, but also a way to build long-lasting connections within our industry. Today, we'll explore how mentoring can provide guidance, support, and opportunities, whether you're starting out, transitioning into management, or navigating the challenges of executive leadership. Our panel of industry leaders and executive coach will share their experiences and practical advice to help you leverage mentoring to achieve your career goals. If you have any questions during our session today, please feel free to put them into the chat. We're going to open up for questions at the end. We'll save some time towards the end of the session. And if we can't get to your question, we will have a follow-up email going out to all attendees providing responses. So let's dive in. The first stage, early stages in our career. The first question for our panelists is, for those just starting their careers, what should they look for in a mentor, and how can mentoring help them navigate the early challenges of the cleaning and facility solutions industry? So we'd like to kick off with Molly, if you could come and answer that question.
For me, I think the most important thing that's helped me is really finding mentors that I could connect with and that I wasn't afraid going to and asking questions. I didn't come from the cleaning industry, but when I came to Ascendant, I was like, what the heck is JanSan and all these acronyms that we use? And so I made an effort to go and talk to a bunch of different people in the different departments at Ascendant. And I just, kind of made friends that if I had a question on what this meant or what this was, that I knew I could go to them and I wasn't embarrassed to ask the question or afraid of how they would respond, and just tried to connect with them on a personal level as well. And that really helped me kind of grow with my role at Ascendant.
Thank you very much. That was excellent. Carol, would you like to answer?
Yeah, and that was some great thoughts, Molly. And I'll just add to that as well. As you're looking for a mentor, the first thing is just keep your eyes open, because mentors are all around you. And I think that in my experience, while I've had a formal mentor, I've had numerous informal mentors. You can find them anywhere. And when I first started, I have about 9 years experience before I became an executive coach and did some other things in the JanSan industry as well. And I was brand new to the industry at that time too, and really searched all around me in all different functions outside of my own function, right? To learn about sales and marketing and finance and all of the areas that were not in my own functional area. But I think a couple of the other really critical things to look for, if you do look for a formal mentor relationship, is first and foremost, that person has to want to be a mentor and they have to want to commit the time. It can't be an afterthought for them. And people who really want to be a mentor tend to really have a personal value of growth, and they come with a growth mindset. And so I think those things are a couple of really important things to look for. And the last thing I would say is somebody who's also willing to be transparent with their experience and transparent with the fact that they have made mistakes, because every single one of us have made mistakes. And that's when we learn the most, is when we hear from people's stories of where they have, tripped up along the way and how they've worked to overcome those challenges.
Very true. Yes, thank you. Okay, so transitioning to leadership. For mid-management professionals, what mentoring strategies are most effective in building management and decision-making skills? Carol, we'll come back to you on this one.
So I would say a couple of things, and there's probably a very long list here, but top of mind, one thing that a mentor can really help you is as you're transitioning from that individual contributor role to a leadership position, is really help you understand what is the role of a leader? What does it mean to be a leader? And what are the responsibilities that come with being a leader within your organization? Because even though you've reported to leaders probably for years, once you're actually in that role, you start to see a different perspective than what you've seen before. And so mentors can really help you understand, like I said, those responsibilities. And the other thing too, I think is a mentor relationship can be so valuable in working through real world scenarios. So as you come into this position, now you have leadership, you have responsibilities for other people, you're going to be experiencing things you've never experienced before. And so to be able to come and talk to a mentor and say, hey, I don't know how to approach this, or can you help me? Can you share what your experience have been, and be able to kind of critically think through all the different perspectives and the different ways that you can approach an issue. I would say that's one of the most valuable things that a mentor can bring to you at the stage in your career, is just working through those day-to-day real life scenarios that pop up.
Very good. Yeah, very good. Michael?
Yeah, I agree with everything Carol said. I look at it as a mentor should be kind of a guide through these processes and through the evolution of coming from, whether you're an individual contributor to a supervisor leadership. You want to be a guide and not really the answer to all the things. So when it comes to like the decision making and things of that nature, I've been really fortunate to have a lot of different mentors, and they all kind of guide me in the same way of what are the facts, not so much the story, to really get succinct on what are the issues that we're trying to solve or the situations, and then being kind of a collaborative supporter of it. Whether it's you're dealing with an individual issue, somebody brings you a problem, as we say, you don't want to take the monkey. You want to help them analyze the situation and ask questions, because you don't want to just say, hey, why don't you go deal with that, and then circle back with me and let me know how that went, because depending on the situation, there's different types of risk and things of that nature. So I look at it as more of a guide and a resource, helping get to the facts, being methodical about it, and then understanding what's the type of outcome that we're looking at. But there's also a time factor that goes into those things. So being decisive, because you can't necessarily take on too many things that need to have decisions made, and let them just kind of carry on. So you want to escort them along the way, but you want to see it go through. But you want to also empower them to make those decisions, because some of those things need to be failures as well. You just want to try to mitigate those things for them, because most of my wisdom is through failures, and I've had good mentors that haven't given me too much to blow up necessarily, but just enough to learn, right?
Yeah, I think empowerment, you mentioned that word. I think that's such a key word. It's about helping that person with with making the decisions. So yeah, that's key. And I just want to mention to our panelists too, if there's anything that you want to come back and add before we move to the next question, feel free. It's such great topics that we're talking about.
I can just jump in with one other idea. I think one of the other key roles that a mentor can play, especially if they're in a leadership role within your organization that you're a part of, is they can really help bring you exposure. So exposure to different functions. They can bring you along to a meeting that where the content might not be super confidential, right? That's appropriate for you to attend, so that you can start to learn from other people as well. Right, they can have you tag along to a trade show maybe that you've never been to before, start to meet different customers, different aspects of your industry that you're not aware of. So just that exposure aspect of mentoring really can open up your eyes as a mentee to a bigger world that's out there, but really also just again open up your perspective to seeing things from a way that is new for you.
Yeah, very good point. We don't know what we don't know. And yeah, that's a very good point. Thank you. So on the executive level mentoring, how can mentoring relationships support executives in tackling these issues and continuing their professional growth?
Kind of in the same the same context, I would say, even as a mentor or a mentee, and being in various groups, me personally, I continue to have my own professional growth as I'm mentoring others because those various, whether it's same industry or different, the exposure and like Carol had shared, I don't think there's anything that's more valuable than actually being exposed to a situation versus like hearing or talking through something. So if you have those opportunities, take them every time because that's the best way of learning. But as it relates to sustaining professional growth from a mentor, I learned just as much, I feel like, from my mentees or reports that help me look at things with a lot of different variable solution perspectives. So I can't pinpoint one thing, but all I can say is you are constantly learning. Every conversation, relationship that you have, value that and live in the moment of it. And then when you have situations that arise, you have such a wider perspective of looking at things from different angles.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If you're not continuously growing, then you're staying stagnant. And if you want to continue to build out your career, you always want to continue to learn. Yeah, very good point. Carol?
Yeah, I think once you got into a leadership position and especially executive leadership positions, I think that one of the most important things to remember is that you are not alone. You may feel like you're alone and on an island with a lot of the decisions that you have to make, but once you're at that level, the decisions become very complex. There's so many factors and so many things to consider. And so having a mentor is absolutely critical because this level of complexity of problems they were never intended to be solved alone. Like we need more than one brain, right? We're never going to get to the best solution until we have multiple brains and multiple perspectives that are involved at that level. And a mentor can really just help you feel like you're not alone. And the other thing is that having peers, like a peer mentorship program, is really, really helpful at that point because you're all dealing with very similar, very complex issues, and to be able to learn from each other's experiences. Again, share where you've, fallen down, made a mistake, talked about how you've recovered, what you've learned in the process. To be able to share that learning with a group of peers just makes everybody better.
Yeah, very good. Okay, overcoming barriers. While mentorship has enormous benefits, establishing and maintaining these relationships is not without its challenges. So what are some common obstacles individuals face in mentoring relationships, and how can they be addressed? This is a very good question. Molly?
So I think one of the most common obstacles for everyone, and Carol kind of touched on this earlier, is time commitment, right? I've seen this firsthand helping support the Ascendant Hygieia employee mentoring program, and everyone always thinks it's a great idea and they want to sign up, and then they're like, oh shoot, I have to meet with the mentor and like I have to do all this work, and or it's oh, I did this as a professional goal for the year, so I want to check the box. So I think that's one of the biggest obstacles is making sure that you're really in the mentorship program or with your mentor for the right reasons and really wanting to grow. And then overcoming the time commitment by being realistic. Like, don't say you're going to meet every month if that's not going to happen. Like, don't set up yourself for failure. Choose every other month or once a quarter and kind of just be realistic with those expectations with you and your mentor or your mentee.
But commitment is the key.
Yes.
If you're not going to commit, yes, then don't do it, because then you're going to be wasting your time and the other person's time, and you're not going to get out of it what you hope to get out of it.
Exactly.
Mike?
I 100% agree with the time. I agree with the commitment. I take it to being humans first. There has to be a fit. You have to be able to connect with your mentor, mentee. Transactionally, there's that business piece, but as a human being, you have to feel comfortable, and you want to make sure that they can connect with you at the right level, right? We all have different ways of learning, right? Whether it's business or whatever. I've been trying to play guitar for 15 years, and I just found a mentor that works with me, right? And sometimes I got to get outside the box. I got to get outside the core business hours So for that longevity and for this to like have traction, you have to have a clear objective, and not that it needs to be like objective. It can be somewhat subjective when it's related to mentoring, right? But I think number one, you have to have a match. That's an obstacle, because if you're just trying to get matched up with somebody, that's just to check in the box, it's not going to work, right? You've got to both have the passion and want to do it, and then commit, make that time. And if it's got to be 7 o'clock on a Tuesday, stick with it. Make that sacred time.
The Hygieia program tries to match people with their backgrounds so that it helps to improve upon the fit. But as you said, just because you don't get a good match the first time, it doesn't mean that mentoring doesn't work for you. You need to, try again until you get the right fit. As you said, 15 years. And how's the guitar coming? Did it work?
I can play ukulele now with this guy.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, like a resume is a resume, right? So when we even look at hiring or working with a client, like it's the culture piece, right? You got to have the ability to carry out the responsibilities and execute. But if we're not able to jive, like our culture, our DNA isn't working, it's probably not going to work. You want to work with people you want to work with, right? So that's got to be part of the process.
Right. Yet opening yourself up to different ways of coming at things too.
Yes, 100%. You have to be open as a mentor and a mentee to be able to, I guess, evolve and grow in that aspect, right? For sure.
Carol, was there something that you wanted to add?
I'll jump into, I think one of the other obstacles that can pop up is that it is, I guess I call it misaligned expectations. So like if a mentee comes to the mentor and is expecting the mentor to solve every problem and challenge that they have, that's not going to happen. And that's not the role of a mentor, right? The role of a mentor, right, is to help them, is to ask good questions, to help them see other perspectives, right? It's not necessarily to tell them what to do, right? So you as the mentee still have to own your decisions, have to own your actions, have to take responsibility for the choices that you make, right? The mentor is going to be there as a guide, but the mentor is not there to do it for you or to tell you what to do.
So would you say another good name for a mentor would be a coach?
They're very similar. Yeah, they're very, very similar. Yeah. And I think a really good mentor is really good at asking great questions.
Right. And if you're just going to that mentor just to help them solve your problems, you're not going to have a good fit long run.
Right.
Thank you. So building trust in mentoring relationships. How can mentors and mentees build trust and open communication to create a productive and a supportive relationship? Molly?
Yeah, so again, like I said before, I think having a connection with your mentor and your mentee is important. And for me, I've had a lot of informal and formal mentorships, but I've always connected with the person, not just on a work level, but like a personal level, because like someone said, we're all humans and life comes at us and it affects us at work sometimes. So I think having someone that can understand you from that aspect too has always been important to me. And then, like Carol was just, and Mike were just saying, like setting those expectations. So if I'm the mentee, I need to go to the mentor saying, hey, this is what I'm hoping to get out of this relationship. And I think you could help me do X, Y, and Z, or I'm looking for your feedback to do this, and kind of setting those expectations and then coming prepared to the calls for those goals that you've set forward.
Great. Carol?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One, and this refers back to just what I was saying before, there is a concept in my world of coaching and mentoring that we use that's called designing the alliance. And designing the alliance is exactly what I was talking about before, making sure that you are aligned on the expectations up front. And so talking through not the what that you're going to do, but how are you going to work together? And so how often are we going to meet? How much time? What do we do if we need to cancel last minute? How are you going to help me? How are you not going to help me? Confidentiality is a critical one, right? Coming to all of those agreements up front is what we call designing the alliance. And so that's a really great strategy in any relationship that you have, not even just a mentor relationship, but in any working relationship that you have, is to design that alliance up front. And then I think that one of the other, critical aspects of building trust, and there's several of them, but one of them is consistency. Just making sure, again, like we've been talking about, that you're sticking to the times that you've agreed to meet, but also the follow-up, right? I think follow-up, so many of us, that's where we fall down, right? So we our meetings with our mentor or our mentee, and we both agree that we've got some homework to do, and there's some check the boxes we've got to make sure that we do before we come back together again. And so making sure that we're actually doing our homework, we're following up, and we're keeping the growth process moving forward. I think that can be really helpful when both parties are doing that. That's a really, really powerful relationship, and that really helps to build that trust.
Yeah, the commitment to accountability as the mentee, that you're going to be using the coaching, and you're going to be experimenting with it and coming back and asking the questions if something doesn't go the way that you expected it to. So yeah, absolutely. And I love that, designing the alliance. I love that. That's a great thing to keep in mind to make sure that you're sticking to what the plan is.
Yes. And also, so I just add that you are adjusting the plan as needed, right? So you can design your alliance up front, but things change, right? If you're with your mentor for 6 months, 12 months, whatever it looks like, things change. So continually redesign that alliance so that you are on the page.
Yeah, absolutely. As relationships grow, they have to adjust to meet the change in the relationship. So excellent. Mike.
I don't have a lot to add there. I've actually taken some mental notes. You got the follow through, you got the confidence. I think it's the commitment, which was mentioned. I think there needs to be some vulnerability and healthy, real feedback at times, right? It's pretty easy sometimes just for us to be nice, right? And I mean it in a positive manner, but we both have to be open to positive criticism, and being kind versus nice, I think, is a way of building that trust, right? You want somebody that's going to give you real feedback, right, and help you along the way in an authentic manner. And I think with all those other things, that kind of governs the foundation of trust.
Yeah, I have had in my past, especially when I was younger, I have had performance reviews, and the manager feels that they're being nice, and they hit on all of the points that positive points I'm aware of, but they don't give me the constructive feedback to help me grow. So that's very important, and being open to hearing it and building on it.
Fully agree. And vice versa, mentor mentee, both need to be aware of blind spots, perhaps, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. The benefits of mentorship. Can you share personal examples, either you personally or someone you know, of how mentoring relationships have contributed to skill development, confidence building, or career advancement? Mike, we'll kick back to you while you're there.
Sure. Everything that I do today, it deserves gratitude to everybody that's been a mentor in my life, from coaching, from coaches in sports to my father work ethic, bosses in this industry, outside this industry. The people that I work with today, the mentors of various groups that I'm in, I can't really think of one thing. I mean, I could think of several things, but I would probably utilize our EOS facilitator, who really helped us scale this organization. That at CleanMark here, he had helped me through so many different ways of thinking about things and how the different businesses connect into the different departments, and from customer service, report management, things of that nature. It's really hard for me to pick one acute thing. I've learned from so many great people, being involved in industries, having mentors, just again, listening, absorbing. It's a hard question for me to just give you one thing. I'm here because of this, or that's one thing I can point at. But if I use the music again, it's that person had patience and figured out my learning skill and worked with me through that. So I think that's the authentic piece that has to be there. You got to have somebody that really has the passion and wants to see somebody succeed.
Right. Yes, some of our mentoring relationships are probably not formalized. They were maybe a former manager or a former colleague that, you know, had maybe more experience, and we just, you know, we look to them and grow from the things that we see and speaking with them. Molly.
Yeah, so I would say been fortunate enough to have a lot of great mentors. And I know this about mentorship, but I'm also lucky to have a lot of great sponsors, which is different. So I've been fortunate to have people in leadership roles that, you know, say my name in a room that I'm not in to give me an opportunity and allow myself to grow. And that's helped really grow a lot of confidence in myself and getting out in front of in front of different leaders and all of that. So I think that's been the biggest like benefit and thing that I've learned throughout my relationships. But I've also learned that it's good to have mentors and people in your corner that are not in your industry. So I keep in touch with a lot of people that I worked for previously just because you never know when you might need a connection somewhere or help with something. So not just finding someone within the industry, but someone outside as well has really helped me.
You touched on something that I read recently. There's mentoring relationships where you're working directly with somebody, but a mentor is also somebody not only who physically brings you to opportunities, but also it's what they say about you when you're not in the room. They're coaching for you, or they have your back. They're promoting you when you're not there, and that's another role of mentoring.
Yeah. And I would say even like as leaders in the industry, if you're not a formal mentor, are you doing that for some of your team members and speaking up about them and giving them opportunities so that they can get to that next leadership level too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We talk about that with our male allyship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If
So
I could,
creating, I'm sorry.
can I jump in on that one?
Yes, absolutely.
I did want to share a short little story here. So I had a very informal mentor who probably didn't know that he was a mentor for me. He was my boss's boss early on in my career. And I'll start with the end in mind. The lesson that this gentleman did was that he was not only helping me build my skills, but he was really helping me build my confidence. And a little snippet of a story, I had to put a proposal together for something that was pretty out of the box and was really kind of pushing the envelope in the organization. And I did not know how it was going to be received. I was very worried about it, but I took it to my boss and he was like, yeah, it's great. Take it up to the next level. So I took it up to the next level. And I went through the whole proposal and he just kind of sat back and listened and observed. And the first thing he said is, Carol, he said, I'm going to say yes, because what you're doing is the right thing. It's new, it's different, it's outside of the box, it's the right thing for the organization. However, you can make this proposal so much better. And here's how you could do that, because I was going to have to take that throughout the organization. And so he really built my confidence by he didn't make me like panic and wait and like, is he going to say yes or no? He just said, I'm going to say yes. Right. So he told me the answer first. And then he went back and said, here's how we can do this better. And so I walked away from that meeting feeling like fantastic, because not only did I get a yes, but I got so much encouragement of how to be better and how to make myself look better as I, shared that proposal with the organization. And so he really, really built my confidence. And I think that's such an important role that a mentor can play.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I had a similar experience with the former owner of our company. After a presentation, she brought me into her office and had given me some points on speaking that were things that no one had pointed out to me before. And they were so helpful. And I absolutely use them going forward. Yeah. And that reminds me of the book Lean In. I think that's a great book for women in business. And if anybody hasn't read it, I would recommend that.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Okay. Creating a mentoring culture. So I just want to make sure we're in the right spot. Okay. What can organizations do to foster a culture that encourages and supports mentoring at all levels? Molly?
Yeah, so Ascendant, we do participate in the employee-owned mentoring program through Hygieia, which has shown great success. So we've encouraged those that have joined as mentees to, through this program, find leaders in the company outside of their normal function to get interaction with different departments. And I'm sure at like every other company, you think, oh, I'm in sales, I can only do sales. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing, but the reality is all the departments work together and what run the business. So with getting those different perspectives from different functions is what we encourage our employees to do through the program. But I think it's certainly helped develop a lot of our leaders and employees and get to that next stage in their careers. And again, just have more people at the company that they can reach out to when they have questions. So we've seen a lot of great success with the Hygieia Ascendant program.
Excellent. So the Hygieia networking program, for those who don't know, you can connect through Hygieia, but if you're a corporation and you want to set up your own networking program, you can, utilize the Hygieia program and put it, build it out just within your organization. So if you want more information on that, please reach out to us. Happy to share. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies are alike, right? We are huge on development, and we understand that at CleanMark, we can't do it all internally. So we do have members that are actually a part of the mentorship program. When it comes to culture, that's what we're all about. We take a look at what our core values are, and we first establish whether or not individuals adapt to that. And we look for culture fit, we look for culture adds. And then on the other side of it is, do they get it? Do they want it? Do they have the capacity? And we want to make sure that we first fit the right person, but then from the seat aspect, sometimes you'll see people can move into different roles of the organization, right? Sometimes they find that perfect spot and then you got right person, right seat. But from there, we want to continue to develop and enhance. And that's what we strive for. Our whole purpose is to create opportunities. There's things that we feel like we can help individuals gain proficiencies in, but we rely on the ISSA, Hygieia, and outside firms to fill in those gaps because there's more subject matter experts, there's better curriculum and content, things of that nature. So I think that is the culture at CleanMark, and that's what we strive for. We're always talking about who we are and what's our purpose, and then how we get there, right? Is obviously a piece of that. I kind of call it the superficial piece when it's revenue and things of that nature, but the core and the foundation has to be the culture.
Yeah, I love that you're tying the core values into the learnings. That's fantastic.
It's at the top of our business plan. If you don't know that, you're not going to make it in the organization. That's what we hire and fire around.
Okay.
It's very important.
So that's obviously in all levels of the organization.
Our cleaners have their core values on their sleeve day one, and that is before they're onboarded. As we talk to individuals, that first conversation we have at any level, it's really about the person, right? You're just trying to talk to the person. Is this a fit, right? The horsepower, the gumption, all those other things, we'll get to that. But is this person going to be somebody I want to work with? Would I want to work for that person, right? When we're talking to people at any level, not necessarily an entry-level cleaner, but anybody that reports to me, would I work for them? That's the first thing that that's the first perspective I have.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
Yeah.
That's great. So success stories. Molly, you were speaking a little bit about the Ascendant program. We would like to bring Gina Goldstein up to talk a little bit about her success story from a mentoring relationship that she gleaned from Hygieia, and talk a little bit about how that has impacted your career.
It's Gina Goldsmith, and I'm here at Ascendant too. So in my experience in working with ISSA, I had the experience last year to work with actually it's been now, almost a couple years ago. But anyway, really learn and grow from my mentor. He was a member of the senior leadership team here. We met frequently at first, and then we kind of changed our cadence, and we met monthly thereafter. But it really allowed me to learn more about the business, ideas on how to develop my leadership skills. And it was great to just have that one-on-one time with him. He was in a different business. He was in pricing and I was in sales. So it was great to learn more about, that part of the business, because we do work so closely together. And anyway, it was just a really great opportunity and allowed me to eventually be promoted to a key account sales representative here. So it definitely is a great benefit. So thank you.
Excellent. So not to put you on the spot, Gina, but since you had such a great experience as the mentee, have you given thought to mentoring someone else who's rising up through the organization?
I haven't quite done that formally through Hygieia yet, but I do help with, new employees that are coming on to kind of guide them through the organization. So I really enjoy working with, people and helping them along their journey, because there's a lot to know. And then I learn from them along the way. So it's always great to, have all these connections, because it's just great to be with people and learning more about how you can grow together. So.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I think we have Erin, who would like to share her experience as well.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Erin Feuerstein. I'm with Ascendant, and I signed up for the mentor program like the second the email came out. I was so excited about it. I'm new to the industry, and I was fortunate enough to connect with two mentors, one internally here at Ascendant and then one externally. And I've consulted with both of them on a number of different, topics, and they've been wonderful to gain a new perspective on where I thought I was coming from and what they saw as a larger potential. And again, they gave me the exposure to different parts of leadership that I normally would not have interacted with. So I'd highly recommend, if you don't have a mentor right now, trying to connect with somebody, and that natural friendship definitely happened right away. Without that, I think it would be difficult to maintain the relationships that I have today. So,
yeah, great. Thank you so much for sharing. I know that personal connection, I think, helps build the trust and the transparency, so that you can, truly share with this person, the objectives and the things that you want to work on. So, great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
thank you.
And then Leanne, if you're still out there, would like to share, we can open it up for you.
So I have two things. One, I would ditto something that Carol had said earlier. So I think some of the benefits that I've seen just from when I've been mentored, as well as when I have mentored other people, or I guess when I've been a mentee and when I've been a mentor, I really like how it helps expose and helps you understand other sides of the business. I always like to know how the decisions I'm making or the considerations that I have impact others in the business. Is a decision that I make or something I implement going to be something that others can operationally support? And is it bringing value? Is it making things easier, or is it making things, more challenging? And it's also, yes, given me ideas on other areas I might want to pursue in the future for career development. And that's also something I've seen in those that I've menteed and just shared what I do and skills needed for my role. Those are things that, they were then able to take back and apply to their role. And they've actually moved on to other roles, which is fantastic. And then another way that mentorship has really benefited me is in developing specific skill sets. So one area I didn't really have a lot of experience in was training and development or learning and development. I was in a role that was doing a lot of development of tools and then rolling it out to train people. But I didn't have a background in HR or education or anything like that. but I had partnered with someone in our learning and development team to learn how to create content and bring people along and train them and make those sessions more effective when rolling out a training for something that, you know, people are going to be asked to follow a process as well as utilize certain tools.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate everybody for sharing. And I'd like to get back to the panel for a few more questions before we open it up. So back to the panel, can each of you share a personal success story about how mentoring has made a transformative impact in your career in the cleaning and facilities solution industry? And what lessons would you like our attendees to take from these experiences? Carol?
Yeah, I think I already shared my story before, the one where I got some
Yes.
before, so I'm gonna let that one sit, but I will really focus in on like the couple of lessons that I'd really want you to take away. One is what I already mentioned: design the alliance. Get really clear about your expectations up front, in both directions. What do both of you need for this relationship to be successful, and continue to redesign that alliance as you go along. The second one is be curious, like be really, really curious. As human beings, we're wired to be very judgmental of ourselves. We're wired to be judgmental of others, of organizations. Keep an open mind and be curious. And the third thing is come prepared, right? Do your homework, follow up, say, you know, whatever you commit to do, actually do it, follow through. And as the mentee in particular, like, again, don't come waiting, expecting somebody to solve all of your problems for you, but come with your goals, come with your challenges, be vulnerable. You know, when you get into that place of vulnerability and trust is really where the magic starts to happen, but you've got to do your homework in order to get there.
Excellent. Thank you. Mike?
Carol is difficult to follow. She hits everything right on the button. I couldn't agree more with preparing, and don't expect anyone to do your work. You won't learn that way. For me personally, the confidence piece I think is huge. So I was one that really struggled with speaking, public speaking or presenting. So I gained confidence as people helped me through preparing an agenda or a presentation. And with that confidence, I was able to practice, in business reviews first, and then to be able to speak, on a larger, audience type of scale type of thing. So I think that's the key is you start to build confidence in yourself when you prepare for things, and then your confidence gets raised by your coach and your mentor as they help you, fine tune things. But then you have to take it and you have to apply it, and you have to be okay with being uncomfortable, because otherwise you won't grow. And you kind of have to not have that. You have to have some apathy on, I'm not going to care if I get judged, right? But in a respectful manner, because you're going to get, it's human beings do judge each other. So don't give up. And a good coach and a good mentor will help you continue to lift that confidence, because I still fail a lot. And, I have people that pick me up, right? And in our role, somebody mentioned earlier, you feel like you're on an island sometimes. It's who you surround yourself, right? Good teams need good coaches, good players, and you got to be united in that way. So confidence and practice and apply it.
Yeah, very important. Prepare and practice, and failure teaches us things.
Yes.
Holly?
Yeah, so I would just add, like, again, 10 years ago, if you asked me where I'd be in my career, I would have never said in the cleaning industry doing what I'm doing. I love it now, but I always thought I'd be in the events world. But I was fortunate that two people took a shot at me, a chance on me at Ascendant, and they gave me that chance. So I would say, don't be afraid to take the chance. There's, if you're going for a promotion or a new job and you look at the criteria and you don't meet every single one, I think especially as women, we say, oh, I can't apply for that, I won't get it. Like, why not? To give yourself the chance to be told no and live with that, or maybe you'll turn out great and there'll be a new career for you. So that, and then I had a college professor that always said, say yes and figure the rest out later. So that's kind of what I try to do every day. I might not have the answers for you, but I will say yes and pretend I do, and I will figure it out. So that would be kind of my 2 lessons or takeaways for everyone.
Excellent.
Take a
Thank
shot
you.
on yourself.
For our panel, what are your, and we've sort of touched about it, but if anything else you want to add, what are your top 3 practices for fostering effective and lasting mentoring relationships?
My top 3 practices.
Yes.
So I would start with the commitment piece. You want it to be long-term, so get those times scheduled and make them sacred. The second one, you've got to have the trust piece, so the vulnerability, for sure. You know, you got to be able to follow through with those things. Everything will work around the trust. And the third has to be, for me, it's about balance. So you got to have work and life, and you should have some level. Nobody needs to know everything, right? You don't want to be, there's levels, right? But you want to have an understanding of where that person's at, so you can meet them there, right? So I think you have to have that connection piece where you can talk about things that are outside of just work, whether it's hobbies or whatever you can relate with. Otherwise, it becomes transactional, and then it is a check in the box, and they did their annual mentorship, program, initiative, whatever the case. So it's got to be more than that, right? There's got to be some, I'd say, deeper connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Carol?
All of that. Mike, that was fantastic. I don't know that I have much to add other than maybe one thing that we haven't talked a lot about is this idea of confidentiality. Like within a mentoring relationship, because we want the mentee and the mentor to both show up and be vulnerable and talk about what they're struggling with and talk about where they've made mistakes. It's critical for both parties involved to really maintain a deep level of confidentiality. And that's just between the 2 of you. There's nothing in there that, needs to be shared. As they say, what stays in Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? You need to keep those stories within just the 2 of you. And that's part of your shared experience with each other. So I think that's the only thing I would add to what Mike has said.
Okay, thank you. Molly?
Yeah, I would just add, be open to the feedback, good or bad, and the criticism as a mentee, because it will help you develop. And then be willing to be uncomfortable, because I truly believe if you're not uncomfortable, you aren't growing. So be open to being uncomfortable sometimes.
Yes, and Molly, it's funny you said that you never thought you saw yourself in this industry. When I started this industry when I was 27, I never thought I would enter it. And ironically, I started at Johnson Wax and Carol. Carol was there, and she was a great mentor without, even trying to be. And it's been fantastic today working with Carol after all the years coming. It's like coming back full circle. So when we talk about long-lasting relationships, there's long-lasting relationships in the industry.
Yes, most definitely. I appreciate that, Susan. Yeah, I was right around the same age at the time when I had started in the industry. So yeah, it's wonderful to reconnect in this environment.
Yes, just a few years ago when we were in our 20s, right? Yes, absolutely. Well, I thank our panelists very much. You gave us some very insightful information. We really enjoyed it and hearing the inspiring stories.